Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today I'm going to show you how you can connect your PlayStation 4 Slim to a DVI monitor. So if you have a look at the back of my monitor here, I have VGA and also DVI. Now if you've got a choice between the two, always go for DVI because it's a digital signal and it is slightly better than the VGA. Now the problem is on the back of the PlayStation 4 Slim, we only have an HDMI output. There's no DVI outputs. But this is okay because what we can do is we can get adapters or cables that go from HDMI over to DVI. So if you have a look at this cable here, it's a nice cable. It was only under £5 UK, so none of this equipment is expensive. And if you have a look here, that side would go into the PlayStation, so this is the HDMI, and this side would go straight into your monitor, and it's digital to digital, so you don't need any converters. And if you did want to use your original DVI lead, so let's say if you've already got a DVI lead running from your monitor and it might be like chased into the ceilings and under the floorboards and stuff, then you can use it. All you need to do is get one of these adapters. So this is a DVI female to a HDMI male. Again, none of these adapters are expensive. You can get these for about £3 off eBay and Amazon. Or if you wanted to use your original HDMI lead that came with your PlayStation, then what you can do is you can get a female HDMI to male DVI. So for example, that would fit in there like so, and then you would have your HDMI lead plugged in that side and then the other side into your PlayStation. If you were going to be fitting a DVI lead, you would be plugging your DVI lead straight into the monitor, and then this side would go into the back of the PlayStation. And if you were to use this cable, obviously this bit here would go straight into the monitor and this bit would go into the PlayStation. Now if you've got an option, if you haven't bought any cables yet, then I suppose the cheapest one would be just to get one of these little adapters and use the original PlayStation lead. But the best option probably would be getting yourself one of these cables here, because then it's not going via any adapters. You've got one less connection because from here you're adding another connection into the link. Not that it's really going to make a difference, but if you were buying it all new, then you might as well get one of these leads. Now for this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the oldest lead here, which is this one here. This is a 5 meter lead, and I'm going to use this adapter just to show you how easy it is to use no matter which option you use. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug this into the monitor. And now I'm going to plug the other end into the adapter, like so, and you can do up the little thumb screws to make it nice and secure. And then we're going to plug this straight into the back of the PlayStation. There we go. So now you've plugged in the adapter that goes to the DVI cable, and that goes straight into the monitor here. Again, you have thumb screws here which you can do up just to make sure it's nice and secure. Good thing about using DVI cables like this is then there's less chance of it getting pulled out behind the monitor because they're actually screwed into place. Right, so let's now turn it on and see what happens. Now with DVI, it will only transmit the picture, it won't transmit any sound. So with the HDMI, when it's plugged into your TV, you're going to get sound and picture. But when you're using a DVI into a monitor, you will only get the picture, you won't get any sound. And this monitor does have very basic speakers on it. It still won't make a difference. I still won't get any sound out of this monitor. So what we have to do is we have to get the sound out of the controller itself. So let me just turn that on. So at the moment this is all working fine. If it doesn't work, I'm going to show you other options you could do at the end of the video. So as you can see, that's working there fine and the picture is nice and clear, but you can see now there's no sound. So to get sound out of it, unfortunately there's no TOS link output from here, so there's no optical output. If it was the older PlayStation, they have an optical output, or if you had the PlayStation Pro, they also have an optical output, but this one doesn't have any optical output, so you have no option but to use the headphone jack here. Now normally when you use the headphone jack here, you only get the chat audio through here, and you get the game sound, the sounds from the actual game itself, through the TV. We have to enable it to put the chat and the game audio through this jack here. So what we need to do is first of all plug in something. So at the moment I'm going to plug in this headset here. You can, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to plug in, before that, I'm just going to plug in this little speaker here with this 3.5mm cable coming out of it, because then you'll be able to hear it. If I plug it into the headset, you're not going to be able to hear anything. So you plug that in there, like so. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold the PlayStation button down for a couple of seconds to bring up this menu. Now if I go up to sound and devices, if you have a look here, it says output to headphones, and it just says chat audio. So I'm going to press X. I'm going to change that to all audio, and then it should start putting the sounds through this little speaker. And now if I turn it on, and now can you hear? I've got the sounds coming through the little speaker. Yeah. So now all the sounds from your game, your sound and your chat, will come through this little speaker. So that might be fine if you're watching something like Netflix, but when it comes to gaming, you probably want to be using your headset anyway. So I'm going to unplug that, and I'm going to plug in the headset. And now, hopefully you'll be able to hear the sound is coming through this headset here instead. Yeah, if you haven't got that headset, you can use the little one that came with the PlayStation, but remember, this is just a mono one. You're not going to be able to hear that. Right, let's put it back onto the main speaker. And as you can see there, graphics are nice. They're going to be 1080p still, because this is a 1080p monitor. A lot of people like working off monitors because of the input lag. Right, okay, just pause that. So now, what do you do if you're having problems doing this? Now, what may happen is, it might be set up, for example, this might have been set up elsewhere, so it might not be on automatic settings. So you might have to start it in safe boot mode, or if you've got another TV to work off, what you can do is you can turn the Hdcp off, and then that might solve your problem when you bring it back to your monitor. So if you were to go, I'm just going to show you where that is. If you were to go to settings here and press X, and then if you go all the way down to system and press X, then as you can see, I've got it enabled, but if you were to turn this one off, do you want to continue? Yes. There we go. So now Hdcp is off. So if you've got that option, you could temporarily plug the PlayStation into a TV to turn that one off. Then hopefully when you plug in your DVI cable, then it will start working. If that still doesn't make a difference, I'm going to show you how to do safe boot mode. I'm just going to enable Hdcp again, just for myself. Now when you enable safe boot mode, what happens is it will start it in a low resolution, so you can start it down at 480p. So if the monitor you're using is only 720p, and at the moment your PlayStation, when you moved it or bought it or borrowed it, might be set at 1080p, then you might have trouble when you plug it into the 720p monitor. So I'm going to show you how to enable safe boot mode. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn the PlayStation off. Right, okay, so what we're going to do is, when that's fully gone off. It takes a while. What you need to do is, right, I need to hold down the power button. So normally you just tap it on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to not just tap it on, I'm actually going to hold it down, and you're going to hear two beeps. The first beep is going to go straight away, but then the second beep will take about seven seconds, and that's when it will enable it into safe boot mode. So at the moment it's completely off. So here goes. I'm going to hold it down. One beep. Now listen for the second beep. There we go, and let go. So that was the second beep. And what should happen is now it will say connect the DualShock 4 using a USB cable and press the PS button. So we're going to have to actually connect it via the USB cable, you know, your charging cable. So this is one that I've just borrowed from the Xbox. So I'm going to plug into one of the USB ports at the front. It doesn't matter which one. So I've plugged it into this one here, but either one will work, and I'm going to plug the other end into the controller here, and then I'm going to press the PlayStation button. And now it asks me what I want to do. So for example, it says restart the PS4 or change resolution. So this is where I would advise you to change the resolution and put it to the lowest resolution possible, just to see if it's working, because you might have a faulty cable and it's going to be hard to fault find. If your cable's faulty, nothing's going to work. So if you're having real trouble with this, start it in safe boot mode and go down to change resolution. Now you won't be able to use the analog sticks, you will be able to just use the little gamepad here on the left. So go down to change resolution, press X, and it says the PS4 will restart. After it is restarted, select the video output resolution. So I'm going to press X for OK, and now it's going to start up again. Okay, and it says here select a video output resolution. So at the moment it's set to automatic, but if for example it was on 1080p, then you can, right, it's making me press this button again. There we go. And now you see when I move it up and down, it works on the analog stick as well. Now you can move it to either 720, 1080p, 1080i. So let's start it on the lowest resolution. Let's start it on 480. And then what you can do is, now that you know it's working, I appreciate that the picture is absolutely awful, but now that you know it's working, you can now go into the video output settings and start to up it. So this is where you can do your experimenter now to see what you will get out of it. So I'm going to go across to settings, press X, and I'm going to go down to sound and screen and press X, and video output settings at the top there and press X, and I'm going to go to resolution. At the moment is on 480. So I'm going to press X there, and now for example let's move it up to 720 and see if it works. There we go, so that has worked, and then you can start going up. 1080i, yeah, 1080p, and you can have a play around with it there. So obviously with this monitor I can get the full 1080p out of it, but on your one you might not be able to, so that's where you can adjust the settings to see, but you won't be able to get to that if it's already on 1080p. You will have to go via the safe boot mode to allow you into this one. So I'm just going to change that back to automatic. And that's it. So hopefully you found that useful. Hopefully by following the steps in the video you will be able to get your PlayStation 4 Slim working on your DVI monitor. Give it a thumbs up if it's helped you out. Take care, bye now.